you're busy, this is how you make strength training worth your time. Here's what usually makes strength training feel overwhelming for people who are very busy. They try to organize their training around these three things: which muscles they train, how many workouts they're supposed to do each week, and how long each workout is supposed to be. All three of these ways of organizing strength training sound logical, but all three can backfire. When we think in terms of training muscle groups, it can get really overwhelming really fast. There are over 600 muscles in the body, which can make it seem like you need this really long list of exercises to do to make sure you hit every single one. But what if I told you you don't need to worry about organizing your strength training around muscles? Instead, you can organize your training around movement patterns. Humans generally move in a limited number of ways most of the time. These big, broad patterns of movement are what we want to be interested when we're choosing our exercises for strength training. Here are a couple of the movement patterns that matter the most: the squat or the lunge, the hinge, an upper body push, and an upper body pull. There are a lot more different categories of movements we could add. Some people like to add core work, carries, direct calf training. These can all be extremely beneficial to add. But if you're short on time, the 4 categories of movement I named already cover the bulk of the musculature on our body, and they're a very efficient way to train whole body strength. I like to think of these as the macronutrients of strength. If you're training these movement patterns for strength, you're doing a lot in potentially very little time. The next place people get stuck is in thinking how many workouts they're supposed to do each week. 3 times a week, 4 times a week, 5 times a week, an hour each time, 45 minutes each time. But here's the deal: real schedules fluctuate a lot. And when people start dropping workouts, missing exercises, they start to feel like a failure. And that mindset can be very discouraging, and it can cause you to end up just throwing in the towel and quitting. Instead, I think it's really helpful to stop thinking in terms of discrete workouts and time spent working out, and start thinking about your entire week as a container of time. And your job is not to hit a particular number of workouts or workout lengths within that container of time. Your job is to make sure that container of a week contains enough sets of these movement patterns, regardless of how many workouts it takes you to complete them. I like to think of a set as the smallest functional unit of strength training dosage. It's the most stripped down input that actually matters, that actually drives changes to our strength. Sets are defined by reps. For most beginners, and for most people generally, the number of reps in each set will generally fall between 6 and 15. Lower reps, doing like 6 reps, means generally we're lifting a heavier load. More reps, doing something closer to 15 or more, means that we're generally lifting a lighter load. Both count. Both ways of lifting can make us stronger. For beginners, a really good target for each of these major movement patterns is to try to get at least 3 to 4 sets of 6 to 15 reps of these major movement patterns in each week. These sets don't need to happen on specific days. They don't need to happen in just 1 session or 2 sessions or 3 sessions. They can be spread across many more much shorter sessions. In fact, 3 to 4 sets of any given exercise don't need to happen in the same workout. 3 to 4 sets of a given exercise could happen on 3 or 4 different days in the container of the week. For example, you might do 2 sets of squats and 2 sets of upper body pushes on one day, and then a couple days later do 2 more sets of squats and 2 more sets of upper body pushes. That way you've accumulated a total of 4 sets for each movement pattern, and you can check that off your list. Or you could do 3 or 4 sets of every single movement pattern in 1 session, if for some reason your week means that your only time to train is for that chunk of time on that single day. Now, because all of this has a ton of nuance, I'll say this: it's ideal to break up that big chunk of work across multiple days, giving a couple days rest in between, especially if the workout is taking you longer than an hour. The CDC guidelines recommend twice weekly strength training, and part of the reason for that is to account for the amount of fatigue we might accumulate in 1 session, allowing that fatigue to dissipate so that we can be fresh for the remainder of the work. However, on weeks when you're super busy and you only have that one chunk of time, it's completely okay to get all of that work done in one session. And as we know now, we could get all of that work done in 7 short sessions. You could do 2 sessions on the same day. You could do 3 sets of an exercise in the morning, 3 sets of a different exercise in the evening. You could do 1 set of each of your major movement patterns on one day, 2nd set on another day, 3rd set on another day. There's literally no end to how you could mix and match these sets, but it's really all about sets, okay? Sets of the exercise, and specifically challenging sets. In future videos, we're going to talk much more about what I mean by challenging, what amount of effort you should feel like is demanded of you from each set. But for now, just know that if you're ending the set feeling like you could only probably do 1, 2, or 3 more reps, that's the type of effort we're looking for. That's the type of set that's going to drive changes to your strength. So what I love about this approach is that strength training stops being about scheduling conflicts as much as it becomes about trying to accumulate, trying to chip away at accumulating enough meaningful work, enough strengthening work in the week to continue to preserve or drive changes to your strength. Suddenly, the way that you do this becomes much more flexible, much more opportunistic. You might start to notice that, hey, I've got this period of time after I drop my kid off at school. It's 10 minutes before I need to start getting ready for work. You could probably get 1 or 2 exercises, a couple of sets in that 10-minute span of time. Now, if you've got that 10-minute span of time every single weekday, suddenly you're able to do quite a bit of strength training. It just might not look like 1 or 2 45-minute sessions. It's going to look a little bit more like piecemealing together your strength training over the week, but it all pretty much counts the same. So now you're no longer asking, did I do it right? Did I get the workout completely done in the order that it was supposed to be done? Did I get all the sets in between this time and this time on this particular day? And it becomes less of an all or nothing, like, oh, I missed that workout, so I might as well just quit the whole thing. And it becomes more about, can I get a couple sets in? What about today? Do I have 10 minutes? Do I have 1 minute? Do I have 20 minutes where I could start to chip away a little bit more at my weekly quota of stimulating sets that I'm going to use to stay strong and get stronger? This shift might help you keep training during those busy, unpredictable weeks. It might help you let go of perfect scheduling and perfect workout completion to recognize that strength training can be a process that's ongoing throughout the week that you can work on a little bit as time allows. So choose 1 exercise or more in the 4 major movement categories and the other ones you want to prioritize for your strength depending on your goal. Decide how many sets per week you are going to target, and then make a commitment that within that 7-day container of time that you have, that you're going to work at chipping away, at checking the boxes, at completing those challenging sets. If this framework feels helpful to you and you want to try it out, I made you a tool to support it. Download my strength macro tracker. This is a customizable, fully editable spreadsheet that you can use to make sure that you're choosing exercises that hit the major movement patterns, and that you can use to track sets of those exercises throughout the course of a week. This tool is designed to help you track your sets, making consistency easier. Not necessarily perfect, but that's okay because we don't need perfect for progress. We need to simply be more consistent at accumulating meaningful stimulation to our strength on a weekly basis, 1 set at a time. Click the link below to get the tracker. If you want to go deeper on this topic, I have a podcast episode linked below, reframing workout schedules, thinking more in terms of sets, and I share some client stories to put this approach in context.